Grace and peace, everybody. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title. Today, we're going to be talking about what happened most recently, a mass deletion that happened at a Catholic school here in the United States. And I just want to take a second. We're going to look at a friend of the channel, Gothic's response to this event. She did a fantastic job of summarizing it. I only want to bring in just a little bit more Bible to it and just add my little approach to it because I think Gothic's did a fantastic job. So I'm only helping the ball go further out of the field because I think she hit a home run. So let's bring Gothic's in and let's talk about it.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying.
The thoughts and prayers, I'm so beyond that nonsense, the lie of that. Because what we have are people who continue to stand in the way of actually doing something.
I'm just letting you guys know this is going to be one of my rambling videos. I don't really know how to articulate what I want to say in a concise way. I'm going to try my best, okay? As of making this video, I have learned that there was a mass shooting that took place at a Catholic school. As of making this video, from my understanding, 2 children have died, 17 were injured, and the person that pulled the trigger killed himself. Again, as of making this video, I'm sure we'll get more updates as the week goes on. But I wanted to make this video because instantly I go in the comment section and I'm seeing a lot of bickering. You have one side of the argument that is offering thoughts and prayers to the families and the victims, while the other side of the argument is pissed off because the thoughts and prayers people don't care about resolving the real issue. And if I'm being totally honest with you, I used to be the exact same way in regards to being very militant towards anyone who said thoughts and prayers. I thought it was like, how dare you with your performative gestures that don't actually do anything? How about you take care of the real problem? Because clearly you don't care about innocent people dying, especially kids. And so I thought it was, just them blowing smoke out of their ass and not really caring about addressing the root problem. But now, knowing what I know now, I would actually say it's the opposite. That the thoughts and prayers people understand what the root problem is more so than the just shut up and do something about it. Because the something about it tends to be more legislation, okay? There tends to be this belief that if we could just get enough laws down in the books, if we could just make more gun control policies, that's going to resolve the issue. And if that were the case, we wouldn't have mass stabbings. We wouldn't have people driving cars into crowds of people during festivals. We wouldn't have people trying to get creative with how they can harm another person, because the reality is when you take a tool away, it doesn't remove the hate. The hate isn't going to go away just because you say don't hate. That's not how it works. But as someone who used to share that mentality, I genuinely believe that we just need more laws. We need more laws, and that's going to resolve all of the violence we see in the world.
All right. I wanted to let Gothic's tease that out because she did a fantastic job of explaining that. I only want to bring in something to help bolster her point. And I want to show you this from the scriptures. So we're going to be at Genesis chapter 3. And we know that this is called the fall of man. And I'm going to get myself out of the way. Now the serpent was more crafty. And I'm reading from the English Standard Version. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, did God actually say you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die. For God knows when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God. Here is a value statement. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. I think what Gothics is pointing out is that the anti-thoughts and prayers crowd believes that we know what's good and what's evil, that we can fully do this on our own steam. The thoughts and prayers people actually, to some degree, shape, or form, recognize that we don't have this all under control, that we are not in control of this situation. And we do need, in fact, divine intervention from someone outside of us because we are in bad shape. Hence why they're praying. Now, I'm not saying everybody's praying to the right God. I'm not making that argument. What I am saying, however, is that they recognize that the solution lies outside of us. The anti-thoughts and prayer crowd have bought into the lie of the serpent, which is saying that we do have the answer inside of us, that we are the answer, that we have the answer in our own capacity, in our own grasp, which of course is wrong. And what happened? And we know that when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and that it was a delight to the eyes and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took the fruit and ate it. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. And we know that is what is called the original sin, the fall of man, the fall in the garden and whatnot like that. Let's bring Gothics back in and let's let her finish it up.
View for me to have a very naive and just lacking understanding of what the real problem is. I don't necessarily believe that anti-gun advocates know what they're doing, in the sense that they're just communists and they just want to disarm Americans. They don't actually care about freedom. That's really what their aim is. I don't believe that all of them are like that. Some of them are, but I think the vast majority of anti-gun people are genuinely coming from a place of real concern. A lot of these people have been victims of violence themselves. Maybe they knew someone who passed away, and so they think that pursuing more gun control policies is going to honor the people that they lost. So I get that, I understand. But again, knowing what I know now, they're very misguided in their application. Because first of all, if you want to get technical, you could easily ask these people who are, condemning the thoughts and prayers thing, you can easily ask them, hey, do you support abortion? Do you support transing the kids, trans-affirming care? Like I said, I think the anti-gun people, they are coming from a genuine place of concern. I think they're misguided. I think that their morality isn't applied equally. Now, on the flip side, I think the thoughts and prayer people, they understand what the root problem is. They understand that it's a heart issue. And then if you want to get rid of violence, you're going to have to fix the heart issue. And how do you do that? Do you do that by creating more laws? Okay. Again, I've said this in other videos. I have never heard of a criminal checking the law book to make sure he's allowed to commit the crime, because that it goes against everything that we know about criminals, meaning they don't obey the law to begin with.
They're
so
criminals.
This guy, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the shooter, because some people argue that that's just platforming him and whatever. But I think there are some things that have been disclosed about this individual that I think is important for this video that I'm doing. He uploaded some videos to YouTube before he committed this act. And in the videos, he's going through his journal, which is written in a different language. Some of it is written in a different language. And it just looks very disturbing. He's got little drawings and everything like that. And then he shows his collection of firearms that he allegedly used for this shooting. He had a rifle, he had a shotgun, he had a pistol, he had a revolver. And on the magazines for the rifle, he had a bunch of random things written down. And I want to read you some of the things that I saw in this video that he wrote. Okay, I made a list. Okay, the first one that I saw, which I found very interesting, is that on one of the magazines he said more than 10, which I assume he's talking about more than 10 rounds. Now, as far as I know, the state that this took place, there isn't a magazine limit. But I do find it interesting that someone who had the desire to commit murder was mocking the fact that he had more than 10 rounds, as if we make these anti-gun laws and we limit the amount of ammunition that someone's allowed to carry on their person, somehow they're not going to be able to commit harm. Someone wants to hurt someone, they're going to do it regardless. They're going to find a way to do it, whether it's 10 rounds, 11 rounds, And also, I would argue that it's an insult to victims when they have these magazine bans because, okay, so you're saying you want to limit the ammunition to 10 rounds. And so what? The first 10 victims didn't matter to you, but the 11th one does? Okay, I'm getting off track. Some other things that he had written down was kill Trump. There is no message. Where is your God? Humanity is overrated. And then the icing on the cake was he printed out like a little caricature of Jesus and he pasted that on a target. The act of committing murder is a sinful act. It's something that people do when they lack fear of a higher authority. To them, if they actually believed that there was a God and they were going to be held accountable for their actions, you would think that they would be a little bit more careful about what they do on earth. And so this guy that just did this shooting was pretty clear that he didn't fear any authority, let alone God. He literally said, humanity is overrated. But from a Christian perspective, humanity is a gift because we're all made in the image of God. And someone who doesn't have that understanding and that relationship with God, they're not going to see human beings with intrinsic value. They're going to look at human beings as disposable and I can just, hurt them if I want to and nothing's going to happen to me anyway when I die. Everything's just going to go black, right? When you see thoughts and prayers in the comment section, I want to encourage you, instead of getting mad at that, I want you to ask yourself, what's the real argument here? Is it the fact that we have too many things in the world that can be used as weapons? Because if that's the case, we're going to be creating lots of laws until we're literally living in a padded cell and unable to hurt anyone. Or is the real issue that lots of people are walking around the world with darkness in their hearts? And I believe that's really what the real problem is. I also want to bring something else up that might piss off some of my conservative viewers. Or maybe not. I don't know. I'd like to think you guys are very open-minded and are willing to hear me out on this. But I am getting so sick of every time there's some type of an atrocity like this shooting that took place, I'm getting so sick of reading the clickbait, okay? For example, are we going to talk about trans violence now? Because supposedly this person that committed this atrocity, this person identified as trans. And then you also have...
I do want to agree with Gothics right here. The issue is not... Now, we can really compartmentalize it and say it's trans violence or white male violence or this, whatever like that. But really, that's the same foolishness that we do when we try to make race issues, everything a race issue. No, it's a sin issue. Let's stop playing the game and let's not, as persons who are conservative, people who are Christian and submit and surrender their lives to Christ, let's stop making false arguments and just say, hey, this is a sin problem. Whether the person was trans or not is really secondary, maybe even tertiary. The issue is that sin was in this person's heart and they enacted and they responded to that sinful nature and their sinful desires in this way. The only way that can be dealt with is at the cross. All right, let's go, Gothics.
Was it last year, maybe 2 years ago? I can't remember at this point. The school in Tennessee, I think, where it was, again, a Christian school, and the person that committed the murder was trans. And so these conservative influencers are making the argument that the reason we're having all of these mass shootings is because of transgenderism. And honestly, I would put you in the same camp with the anti-gun activists for simplifying the real problem. Is there a argument to be had about someone who is perhaps on SSRIs? Perhaps there's an argument to be had about someone's mental health if they are living in a delusion and they think that there's something that they're not. That's an argument to be had. But to say that the reason this mass shooting took place is specifically related to because they're trans. Not only are you overlooking all of the other shootings that have happened by super hetero, non-gender confused individuals, you're overlooking that, but you're also oversimplifying, again, what the root problem is. The root problem is sin. The root problem is that people love their sinful actions more than they love God. Point blank, period.
Wow, say that again.
And I am so sick of seeing that
Hold on,
type of rhetoric.
My cooking. I got to let her cook again. Hold on, let me back that up a little bit. Shout out to Gothics because she cooking. Let her cook, Jason. Let me speed up. Okay.
What the problem is sin. The root problem is that people love their sinful actions more than they love God. Point blank, period. Okay? And
Cook.
I am so sick of seeing that type of rhetoric because you're moving people away from what the actual solution is. You want to get rid of violence in the world? You want to get rid of mass shootings? You want to get rid of hatred? Repent and give your life to Jesus Christ. Okay? Otherwise, we're just sort of tossing the ball back and forth. Okay?
My girl.
Nothing is getting done because we're trying to fix a spiritual problem with worldly solutions, and it doesn't work. Violence is never going away. There's always going to be death and murder and strife and all kinds of chaotic things in the world because we live in a broken world. We live in a world where people are guided by their own desires and their own flesh, and they end up doing things that are harmful to themselves and to their neighbors, and they have no regard for the bigger picture. And so my suggestion, if you're out there and you look at these, thoughts and prayers, people, before you scoff at that, why don't you try it? Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about this video. I was all over the place. This video may not even be a coherent video. It's more of a rant because I'm annoyed. I'm fed up.
Bye, God. Bye, Gothics. Grace and peace to you, sister. There she goes. Gothics cook. I'm going to let her end it, but thank y'all so much for tapping in. Please, in the comments, let me know your favorite Bible verse. And I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.